No one likes to get that one text. The one that says, hey, we need to talk, or hey, we can still be friends, or hey, I'm not going anywhere. But when a browser company does it, everything's okay. For those who don't know, I've been using the Arc browser almost exclusively for about 2 years now for personal stuff, for professional stuff, work stuff, as well as just creative stuff, mostly because it looks really nice and it has the features I need. Well, I don't use it in my mobile setup in the sense that I don't use it on my phone. I still use like Safari on my iPhone for that. But yeah, I've been using it since looks like my first email I got from them was August of 2022. But just yesterday, about 22 hours ago, the CEO of the browser company, the company behind Arc, put out a tweet. Josh Miller put out a tweet saying, we're building a second browser at the browser company. And if you look through this tweet thread, there's some good replies, and there's some people that are just so shocked and scared. And this kind of feels like we can still be friends, but we're going a different direction, or we can still be friends, but we'll still be around and we can still help out. So what is it? In addition to the video, which we'll watch in its entirety in a little bit, they put out an article on The Verge that I want to read through as well. What does this actually mean for Arc? Should people be upset? Am I going to be upset? What am I going to do? When you hear of companies doing this, especially bigger companies, it feels weird, especially there's so many things that I've shut down personally just because I don't have the time. I'm only one person. But building a second browser seems a bit different than all of this. So what is everything behind it? Here's my thoughts. Let's read together. So the company behind Arc is now building a second, much simpler browser. The browser company is already onto its second product, but it promises it's not leaving Arc behind. I know that we will hear this phrase quite a bit, both in the video as well as just, in tweet replies to this tweet and just across the whole article. There's a lot of, hey, we're not going anywhere, which again, it just sounds like, that good friend or that ex-girlfriend who was like, hey, everything's going to be okay. Or, hey, I'm still going to be around. Or, hey, I'll still help you move. That kind of thing. Stop me if this sounds familiar. It already does. The browser company is building a browser that it thinks can make your internet life a little more organized, a little more useful, and maybe even a little more delightful. It has new ideas about tabs and what your browser can do on your behalf. And I think this is what is shocking to me a little bit. I already have kind of looked through it a little bit and seen other people's replies, but I think the curious part for me is why are you not just iterating on something that you've already built? And maybe there's something like we can learn, or I can learn specifically from this instance, but it seems like they've already built something that a lot of people really like. And maybe it's not 2.0, maybe it's just like a complete different, an Arc simplified version in the sense that you can just switch one tab and be into this reader mode, for example. They've already kind of done this in a lot of ways. They've allowed specific, let me see if I can figure, not that. Like in their settings tab, for example, they have, let me pull this over, they have a lot of different, settings that is just kind of set up through here. For example, Max is one of the big ones. This is all their AI features. I don't have any turned on, but I'm curious of why they wouldn't have maybe like a minimalistic version of Max, so like an alternative version that you can enable on a whim. And maybe they don't have the user base that I think they do. Maybe they're trying to reach something out for different. So let's keep reading. I've heard this story before, but that browser company CEO Josh Miller wants to talk about when he calls me on Thursday isn't Arc, the product he and his team have been working on for the last 5 years. Wow, it's crazy that's been that long. I remember getting a beta request, or putting in for a beta request probably 3 years ago, maybe 4, but I don't think I actually got into the beta until 2.5 years ago, somewhere around there, 2 years, I would assume. So it's not Arc 2.0 either, even though Miller has been talking publicly about Arc 2.0 for a while now. That's interesting. So yeah, focusing on the only thing that matters, leapfrog products. So it looks like he did a podcast talking about it, which is, again, interesting. It's an entirely new browser, and for Miller and the browser company, it's a chance to get back to building the future of browsers they set out to create in the first place. A strange thing has happened over the last couple of years, Miller says. Arc has grown fast. Users quadrupled this year alone. So yeah, I mean, they don't have a paid product yet. They don't even have a premium version of Arc, at least that I know of. I'm curious of if they did, or is this going to be a paid product? Is that like the big push that they are looking for profitability, which makes sense again, but feels weird to do it this way. But it has also become clear that Arc is never going to be a truly mainstream product. Interesting. It's too complicated, too different, too hard to get into. It's just too much novelty and change, Miller says, to get to the number of people we really want to get to. I mean, I do understand that. It is very specific in the sense that if I was putting my installing Arc for someone that was not me or someone who is a very internet heavy user, even the people who I know are at least semi-technical, they just wouldn't get it. It just looks a little bit too different. Even if you have this completely on the side all the time, it still looks different. Now, I know that they have option to be able to go put the bar up there, I think, but there's a lot that you have to kind of learn, and it's for a specific set of users, I think. User interviews and data have convinced the company that this is a power user tool and always will be. On the other hand, the people who use Arc tend to love Arc. I'm one of them. They love the sidebar. They love having spaces and profiles. They love all the customization options. So yeah, I have a specific profile for when I'm streaming or recording. I have a profile for work. I have a profile for my personal stuff, and all of them I can have specific pinned tabs that are always kept on the top. That's probably the thing I use the most in the sense of those are my different spaces, and two of them have different profiles, but it's nice that all of those are still in the one browser and I can kind of push to different spaces, push different profiles. Generally speaking, those users have also settled into Arc. Miller says they don't want new features as much as they want their browser to be faster, smoother, more secure. And fair enough. So the browser company faced a situation many companies encounter. They had a well-liked product that was never going to be a game changer. Rather than try to build the next thing into the current thing and risk both alienating the people who like it and never reaching the people who don't, the company decided to just build something new. It's a bold approach. I don't necessarily think I agree with it because you already know what works really well. And so I think that my option would have been take what worked really well for Arc and make a subset of it in the sense that it is Arc and you can turn on the normal feature, if you want to call it that. If you're alienating people, but you know that the things that's alienating them is the layout, specifically, it sounds like it, at least from what I understand about browsers and just, if I was to give someone Safari, they know because it just has up on the top. I can type in this thing and not have to press like Command L or Command T to go to a new tab. We'll just make a normal mode. It doesn't have to be a new product. Again, this is all my opinion on it. Let's keep going. Arc is not dying, Miller says. Again, this is kind of like it just sounds like Miller is that guy who's kind of breaking up with you in a lot of sense. We'll ignore that his name is also Josh. He says that over. It's funny that I believe the browser company also linked this article. Yeah, you can read more in The Verge here. So they know that this is something that they've approved going out. And here he says that over and over. Arc is not dying, Miller says. He says that over and over. In fact, even after I tell him the YouTube video the company just released sounds like the thing companies say right before they kill a product. The Verge is like, hey, you know how this sounds. And Miller is like, yeah, we're not dying. We're not going anywhere. We can still be friends. It's just that Arc won't change much anymore. It will get stability updates and bug fixes. Wow. And there's a team at the browser company dedicated to it. That's tough. That's tough. Because that means you are killing it. In a sense, you are not putting any effort into updating it. You are just getting stability updates and bug fixes. That's, it's coasting for it. I'm curious of how big that team is. I wouldn't be surprised if it was one or two people. In that sense, Miller says it feels like a complete-ish product. Most of the team's energy and time will now be dedicated to starting from scratch. It's a complete-ish product. It can be, especially because it's built on top of Chrome, so you don't have to worry about those kind of underlying things. But at the same time, browser standards and browsers themselves are not ever going to be complete in the sense that web standards completely keep pushing forward. A browser is never going to be like, hey, I can still use Arc version, 0 point whatever version we're on. What is this version? Can I even tell? Okay, yeah, August 2, 2022. That's how long I've been here. I don't know how you can tell which version. Oh well. Most of the team's energy and time will now be dedicated to starting from scratch. Arc was basically this front-end tab management innovation, Miller says. People loved it. It grew like a weed. Then it started getting slow and started crashing a lot, and we felt bad, and we had to learn how to make it fast. I do remember this. I kind of switched off of it for the longest time after using it for maybe 3 or 4 months. I loved the features of it, but it still felt slow compared to I was using Brave mostly at the time, or Safari. And we kind of lost sight in some ways of the fact that we've got to do the operating system part. Okay, let's watch this video. Let's actually watch it in the YouTube player instead.
We are back. It has been a minute since I've seen your YouTube. My family and I moved to Brooklyn a few weeks ago.
How many videos do they have? We are back. Sound like I know that I've seen some videos from them, but the way he's presenting it, okay, 97 videos. They do have quite a bit. This is funny. Their pinned video is Meet Arc 2 of Arc browser 8 months ago. Let's change the pinned video browser company. Okay.
It is fall in New York City, and this has been a big summer. We spent months radically redesigning Arc 2.0, this big idea. But we came to a realization about a week or two ago.
I'm curious what some of these features were that they're kind of bringing. Like I don't. This always seems like a dock in a browser always seems weird to me. I don't know if I like that, but again. The thing that I've really appreciated about Arc is the fact that almost every new feature or just thing that you might want is opt-in. And yeah, maybe you can't have it all bloated. So I'm curious of what they're going to do.
But we came to a realization about a week or two ago. Man, Arc doesn't need a redesign. Arc doesn't need a radical reinvention. Arc's great as it is. So we got 2 things to share with you today. Arc is not going anywhere. The product you...
Again... it's very interesting to me that's the approach that they're taking. It's not like, hey, here's the things that we have on our roadmap to finalize Arc. And by the way, we're building something new. It's like, hey, we were planning all this new stuff, and then we realized Arc is good enough. I know that's not what they're mean to say, or that's just like, hey, this is the approach that we're going to take. I've seen enough of these, media pushes that we're going to spin it this way. But everyone knows that this is not the case. Everyone in this Twitter thread knows.
Love is staying put. And we're building a brand new product. To be honest, we're not even sure it's a web browser.
Hello, my name is Josh. I'm one of the...
Wait, so they say, I'll turn it up just to make sure it's not too quiet. They say, we're not even sure it's a web browser. When they said the reason Arc is alienating most of their users is because it doesn't look like a web browser. This is like when iPad, I don't know if anyone saw, what was the iPad, what is a computer? This one. If you ever saw this specific video, that's much louder than the other one. This one, I don't say this lightly. This Apple ad pissed me off because if you go through it, like it's basically, I don't want to get copy striked by Apple, but if you go through it, the end is basically like, hey, this kid's playing on the iPad, and then the mom or whoever asks them, what you doing on your computer? Like the whole browser company doing this is like, hey, we're not even sure if this is a browser. It just sounds like they're trying to be innovative for the sake of being innovative, which is why I think that Apple commercial failed. At least I personally didn't like it, because calling something an iPad so that people don't realize that it's a computer is idiotic in my mind. Hot take.
co-founders and the CEO of the browser company.
A very small group of people who had no business working on a browser built the first version of Arc.
In this video, I'm going to show you the very basics of how to use Arc in a couple of minutes.
Okay,
I do really love how great they truly did build Arc in public. There were so many updates. There were so many kind of like, hey, here's what we are learning. And then a lot of the design team was incredibly awesome to kind of follow through this process.
I know this feels like a lot. So just at the top, let's talk about Arc. And let's talk about why did we even think we needed to redesign? It was three things. The first, and I'm sure you can relate, I got near and dear friends in my life, family members that I just couldn't get to use Arc. And these are people with a bajillion tabs open. They should love the thing we've built, but it was just too complicated for them. It was intimidating. And we started this company in order to build something for the people that we love. We didn't start this company for the sake of a sidebar and spaces and pin tabs. And while we've quadrupled the number of people that use Arc every day this year, if you extrapolate that out, we're not gonna get to 1 billion people using this product. But
I still think there's some kind of disconnect, and maybe he's going to go into it, but it sounds like the disconnect between everyone not using it is because of layout, not because of, oh, you have like everything that I do. I use Command T, Command L. I use like a bunch of different options when I'm using Arc, and maybe it's, you know, a combination of pin tabs and the sidebar that starts off of, hey, this feels complicated, but again, changing that seems like that solves every problem that he's posed up until now.
on the other hand, sidebar and spaces and pin tabs, that's what makes Arc so great. We even ran in the depths of this Twitter poll asking you, please just let us let go of one of these things for the sake of our friends and family members. And you're all like, no, absolutely not. You can't do that.
But there's a difference between letting it go and having it be opt out. Like there could be an Arc normal mode for normal users and then the Arc power user mode or Arc maximum, whatever you want to call it. That would be the option that I would have taken, especially just all the things that I have known and seen just in this video and in the article, because it sounds like everyone loves it the way it is, but you still want to keep working on it. You still want to update it. So make it opt in.
That was it. That's how we came to this moment. So it's too complicated or it's beloved. And then there's this third force. And I gotta be honest with you, I was so skeptical of the hype. I'm sure you're skeptical of the hype, but I'll be real. We have fallen in love with language models and the potential of them.
We have a bajillion ideas for how we can use these LLMs to make web browsing using the internet better.
And this transformer is, I think, going to change the way we use software in the internet for the better. And I know what you're thinking, but this is also part of the reason we felt we needed to redesign Arc, is the world is about to change.
I'm curious. I mean, I'm not curious because I know it's intentional, but the old school Macintosh, I know that the browser company and Arc itself, they feel very Apple-esque, especially just with this whole thing. Now it's like the iPad's not a computer, that whole fiasco. But it's interesting. Like it seems like they're wanting to say, we don't think the Mac should change because we have an iPad.
We think it can be for the better, but we gotta think from a blank page. So if there's one thing you take away from this, it's that the Arc you know and love is not going anywhere. It's gonna stay stable, secure, performant. We heard you. We wouldn't have arrived at this conclusion if we had not heard so much from all of you who care so much. Thank you. So that's why we're breaking free. We are going to build a completely separate product, a new product for our friends and family members that just Arc wasn't there for. Let's talk about the second product now. We don't have a name.
This sounds like the mom test. Like, are you supposed to build products for your friends and family members?
Name for it. I'm not even sure that we have the exact words to describe what it is, but we are very, very excited about a few ideas that I want to tell you all about.
Okay, let's see if we can say. So, this is called Glide Around the Internet. So you have, why is this all pixelated? It's so weird. Maybe they just wanted to zoom in. Like, why is that so pixelated? I don't know if you can tell. That's really pixelated.
Product now. We don't have a name for it. I'm not even sure that we have the exact words to describe what it is, but we are very, very excited.
It's funny. They say, hey, our users, this might not even feel like a browser, but the users, friends and families who don't want to use it because it doesn't feel like a browser. And then you don't just jump into all this trendy, casual, all these cool animations, glide around the internet. I think the reason why people aren't using it who are non-power users are because it doesn't feel like the browser that they are used to in their operating system, whether that's Edge, Microsoft Edge, for people who install Windows on their machine. Like my grandma and grandpa they might even use Chrome because I think I might have installed it for them. But if it looks like this, my grandma and grandpa are not going to use it. My mom and dad probably aren't even going to use this.
Excited about a few ideas that I want to tell you all about. The first idea, I think the team's gonna hate me for saying this, and honestly, I kind of hate myself for saying this, but have you ever written in a Waymo before? It is wild. You feel like you are floating, gliding around the physical world.
It's still I hate that I keep pausing it because this is a 6-minute video and we've taken like 15 minutes so far. But he's saying that the reason why Arc is not going to take its trajectory, this is Josh's words, in the browser company CEO, the reason why Arc is not going to get to the trajectory they need because it doesn't feel like a browser and it's too complicated for people. And then you jump into self-driving cars, who most people who are going to even feel safe enough to get in one of those is not someone who is probably someone who loves technology or is a power user or an early adopter, someone who wants to get on this thing, not someone who's like, yeah, just give me a taxi.
In a way that you've never have in your life. We can do that for your day online. We think after summer of prototyping, we can offer that feeling to people. And I know it's not you, and I know you want to put your pin tabs everywhere. I do too. But for a lot of people, they got stuff to do. Why don't we just let them glide around the internet just like you can glide around the roads in these new cars? Okay, next idea. Simple, maybe even boring, but bear with me for a second. Command T. Command T, according to Apple, is the most used text box on your entire computer. More people in 2024 go to tell that text box what they want.
I don't know people who aren't developers. If I was to ask even people who I know are fairly technically savvy, being people who can, set up their internet and restart their browser, do all the things that you would normally do, with 80% of people still use the new tab page. Like if I was to show my wife, she wouldn't know how to do a new tab in Arc. So I don't know about this Command T stuff because that seems like it's not the answer to what their problem seems like it is.
Than ever before. And there's this fascinating evolution if you look at browsers where in the original browsers, Command T could take you to URLs. And then it could suggest URLs from your history. And then Chrome in 2008 said, hey, we can take you to search engines too. Just type and hit enter and we'll figure out where to take you. Flash forward 2024, we have this new technology that can understand humans and what they say in language for the first time ever. Where else can we take you? The answer is a lot of places, and we think it's gonna be awesome. Okay, the final idea.
Doing less, better.
The first two are really about a browser. But the truth is, at the end of the day, the people that we care about for the second product, they don't want to be on their computer. And we want to help them get off their laptops. We think we can zap these new powers, the powers of a browser, the power of large language models, down into the tools you use every day to get you off your computer sooner.
I still can't get over the fact that all of this is very pixelated. It might be because I have my screen shrunk and I'm on 4K, but
I think we can zap
pixelate. Look, that's very pixelated.
These new powers, the powers of a browser, the power of large language models, down into the tools you use every day to get you off your computer sooner. Right? It's about having this 5-star level of service that just anticipates your needs and shows up and tries to have your back in these little moments. Where Arc felt very manual,
my grandparents and parents can't use Alexa. It's tough for them to understand how to use Alexa or Siri on their phone. For the most part, when they're using any kind of AI type stuff in their day-to-day life, it's it's things that already takes them longer than they do. And so then they just go back to, hey, I'm just going to use my normal speech to text feature in my text app.
We want this product to feel automatic, right? Where Arc felt very novel, we want this product to feel familiar, but deeply powerful. And where Arc really served its role as a web browser, we want this second product to meet you where you are in those apps and files you use every day and just try to help you get a little bit of busy work done. That is what matters to us. That's why we're doing this. It's not ready. We don't have a date. And quite frankly, it's kind of a bunch of different prototypes right now. So you might see things out there in different places and wonder, is this it? I promise you, I will come back and let you know when it is ready to show to you. In the meantime, I just wanted to sit you down and look you in the eye like we always have and say, Arc is not going anywhere. The product you know and love is staying put. We are building the second product for your friends and your family and the people in our lives as well, who just Arc's never going to be for. And we cannot wait to show you more so soon.
We started this year doing a lot of talking, but we're done talking now.
Take ownership over your.
What is that? Okay, never mind. I thought this was like part of the browser. I didn't know this was just their directory.
We're done talking now.
Take ownership over your piece of the puzzle.
Like, it all boils down to this text box.
It's proven to be pretty difficult.
If we don't like what we have yet visually, let's figure it out. Excited to get all.
See, again, I'm thinking of people like my parents and my grandparents when it comes to we're wanting to build a browser for our friends and our family who aren't power users. If I told them, hey, your new browser can now, you just click on this thing and drag it places and then you do stuff with it. I guarantee that might be something they use for a day and then they just forget about it. I don't know. I don't know.
Feedback.
So let's go do it.
Even the music was like, hey, we're not breaking up with you. We'll still be friends. The plan this time is to build not just a different interface for a browser, but a different kind of browser entirely. Again, that doesn't seem like it solves their problem. If they're giving a synopsis of, hey, here's the problem, the solution is not this, in my mind. One that is much more proactive, more powerful, more AI-centric, more in line with that original vision. Call it the iPhone of web browsers or the internet computer. Again, yep, that sounds like where they're going. Again, I'm not combating that this is the wrong move. I'm saying that it seems like they're jumping 10 years ahead instead of just trying to solve their current solution, current problem. The idea is to turn the browser into an app platform. Miller still wants to do it, and he wants to do it for everyone. What does that look like? Miller's a bit vague on the details. The new browser, which Miller intimates could launch as soon as the beginning of next year, is designed to come with no switching costs, which means, among other things, that it will have horizontal tabs and fewer ideas about organization. The idea is to make the first 90 seconds effortless in order to get more people to switch, and then slowly to reveal what this new browser can do. Miller has a couple of favorite examples of how a browser might help you get stuff done, which he said to me on Decoder and elsewhere in recent months. There's the teacher who spends hours copying and pasting data between enterprise apps, the Shopify sellers who spend too much time looking up order numbers and then pasting them into customer support emails. Those are the sorts of things that a browser with access to all your web apps and browsing data could begin to do on your behalf. And with AI tools like the new computer use feature from Anthropic, that kind of thing is beginning to become automated and possible. Designing a browser that is both accessible to everyone and a completely new thing won't be easy. The browser company tried it once already and ended up here. But Miller feels good about having built a good browser over the last 5 years, and now it's time to get back to the real job. I don't know if this is it. I think that this is trying to be the iPad before they've, launched the MacBook in a lot of ways, in the sense that most people just want a computer, like the people who let's talk Apple. The people who are having trouble switching to Arc because it's a different layout, because there's new things to get used to. My parents, my grandparents would have a hard time on an Apple computer. But You give them a laptop, they'll know where to go a little bit easier than an iPad in a lot of ways. The iPad has simplified the process of getting places, but it's still it's not familiar if you're not familiar with that layout. It sounds like they're jumping 5 steps ahead instead of wanting to jump 2 steps ahead to solve the problem for the people who are not using Arc. People love Arc, so give an opt-in to do the thing that you need them to do, especially if it's just horizontal tabs and pin tabs and the layout that makes people not want to click, yes, let me use that browser. So what about you? Is this something that you agree with me? You don't agree with me? Do you agree with the Arc company, the browser company? But overall, it feels like we're getting broken up with, or at least we're just saying, hey, we'll still be friends and you'll still hear from us every now and then to get security updates and maybe, stability updates and some speed improvements and stuff like that. But any new features or things that we're building for this new thing, yeah, those are just going to have to be a completely different app. Is this the move? Me personally, I don't think it is, because it feels like it's not solving the problem of being more approachable for the people who Arc is not. It's not the solution for my grandparents or even my parents. It sounds like you're just building to build and building to try to build that next new thing instead of something that people actually are using right now.